Today I'm going to take you through the planche progressions. I'm going to start with the tuck planche position. I'm going to show easier variations and then go all the way through the hardest progressions. We're going to work our way up to full planche. As we get to the harder variations, I am going to start to use the band just so I can show some better positions with more control. So join in, try these ones out, start with the easier ones and then slowly progress. It's also a really good warm up and just slowly make each set harder and harder. So we've got that tuck planche. Now that tuck planche position needs to be really tight position. So I'm trying to get my knees as close to my chest as I can. The tighter the ball, the less the lever arms are sticking out in the opposite direction. If my legs are sticking out over here, they're going to be really heavy, but if I can bring them in as close as I can towards the base of support, towards the hands, the easier the position is going to be. And then the other thing I need to really focus on is that protraction. That is really, really key. So I need to be pushing up and forwards, not just forwards. We don't want a position where we're out here somewhere and collapsing through the shoulder blades and really an extension and just shaking. Some of that is going to happen as we get to the harder variations, but the more we can push up and forwards into protraction, the less we need to lean forwards, especially with those easier stages. We don't want to be leaning really far forwards in our tuck planche because we're going to start to collapse there, and then you're going to lay on top the harder and harder progressions, and with that weak base, that's never going to work. So knees at our chest, we can even have a bit of friction between our arms and our legs. So I'm pushing my legs out to my biceps and pushing my biceps in towards my legs, and then from that position, I'm going to come forwards, really go into that protraction. I could go toe assist, I could go one toe, I could lift up. So that's the basics of the tuck planche position. Now the next stage we think of is the advanced tuck. Now the advanced tuck, or the flat back position, is actually moving the knees all the way out so they're in line with the hips. So if I do it on the floor, it's easy to demonstrate. This is the tight tuck position here. This is the advanced tuck position or flat back position. Look at the difference between those two, this and this. So what we want to think about is not just that, we want to think about that, 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 and then this. So think between those two positions, there's like 10 different levels that you could go to. Also note heels towards the butt. What we don't want to happen is legs out over here. If the legs are out over there, we're jumping up to harder progressions. So in practice, when you're doing this and you're trying to look on camera where you are in terms of the progressions, look where the knees are. So if I can't see my knees, if they're poking through my elbows, so there, I'm in a tight tuck. If my knees start to come level with my arms or start to poke out the other side, now I'm starting to open up, because the knees have left my arms and they're starting to go backwards. And then I can just carry that on, see where I can get to in terms of the knees being more level with the hips. Now that's hard to do in talk, so as my progression's gone now, I'm not going to talk as I go into the positions. And the other thing you'll notice as the legs come down is that the back will flatten, so we're not going to have a rounded back so much. We still want that protraction, but the rest of the spine is going to be straighter when we're in that knees level with the hip position. So watch what happens to my spine if I move from tight tuck planche to advanced tuck. See, the back is starting to flatten out. So we've gone from that tight tuck position through to the advanced tuck. Now most people think that the advanced tuck then goes to the straddle, but look at the difference in lever arm now. The amount my legs are sticking out is massive to go all the way to there. Now this is open tuck straddle. This is closed tuck straddle, so the hips tend to be higher with this position. And then I like to go in between in this more of a frog position. So the only difference really between the flat back tuck position here and the frog is the legs are starting to extend that way, but I've still got the upper leg closer to this direction. So that's a good progression to go to before we go to high hip straddle and low hip straddle. So this is what the frog position looks like actually in the planche. So you can see there the legs are now sticking out much further in this direction, but I'm still close to that advanced tuck position. Then we can open up to that high hip straddle position, so very similar to the frog, but now with the straighter legs, but they're not extended all the way. Now we're starting to push my max now with any sort of control, so I'm going to go to the band in a second, but I'll try the open hip straddle position first, and then I'll do the same with the band. So let's stick the band on and see what I can get. So it's definitely a longer hold, and I think it was a little bit cleaner with that. This isn't giving me that much help, so the band is around bottom of ribs, sternum position. But hopefully that demonstrated a better position in terms of the openness of the legs, so not having the hips too closed. The height of the hip, ideally it would be somewhere in line with the shoulders. And then the hold time obviously should just be a little bit better. Now there are two other positions that are commonly used as well. So there's the single leg variation and the half lay, and I'm going to cover those in a second. But before I do that, I want to go all the way to the full planche. So I'm going to add another thin band to this. If not, my head could explode on that straight body full planche position without this extra help. So what we're looking for in the full planche is good protraction still, hip height nice level with the shoulders, feet level with the hips, legs squeezed together, and a nice straight body. So that's as close as I can get at the moment with this band set up on the P-bars and taking my shoulders that far forwards. I think I'm getting an okay balance between keeping some sort of protraction and not collapsing and taking the shoulders really far forwards. And as best I can, I'm really trying to straighten the arms and push forwards as far as I can. What you'll probably find is when you start to get to your max, elbows are going to start to bend and the body's going to collapse somewhat. So the other variations, the single leg version we can start to look at now. Now the single leg version is a bit complicated because there's a big difference between having one leg straight, so having this leg straight like that and this knee closed. I can have the knee right up here, which creates a bit more flexion through the back, and then this hip flexor and the spine is now really taken over on the hold, and that's just adding a little bit of weight. So where does that come in the progression line? And the issue with this is a lot of people will really get comfortable using that hip flexor, and then it's hard to get rid of. But I'll demonstrate it anyway, but I wouldn't use it that much. And then the other one, the half lay. Now the half lay is a really good position, but it's just very, very tricky to get into the correct setup, because what we're aiming for here is to have open hip. So I can't do this on my back because I have to bring my heels behind me. So we're looking for this. So we'll actually have an open hip position. So not a closed hip, a open hip there, glutes on, heels back towards us, and then be in that position. So opening the hip fully actually in the planche is really, really tricky, but I'll attempt it. Yep, no, I can't do that. I could probably get it with the band, so definitely with double band. So let's see. But I reckon this is now on as hard as a full planche. So same deal, I probably wouldn't use that as much with clients or with my own training, just because it's so tricky to get in and out of and actually to do working sets of it. I'd much prefer to go with one of those other progressions I first showed. Now the cool thing is once you know these progressions, you can use exactly the same progressions for the front lever. So full front lever, straddle, open hip, closed hip, frog position, advanced tuck, and tuck. Let me know down in the comments where you are with your planche journey. Let me know if you have any questions regarding this. Reach out if you're after coaching or my app. Link is down in the description, and I'll speak to you in the next one. Thanks, guys.